see that. All right, say it again.
Watch the last one at the bar.
Y'all subscribe to the Last Ones at the Bar boxing channel, man. We got some boxing fans out there.
Hola, soy Jolie de Medellín y estás viendo las Squad 11 de Bar, el mejor canal de boxeo. Dale me gusta y suscríbete. Y me puedes encontrar en Instagram como Jolie1026 Sánchez. Bye.
Last Ones at the Bar. Exclusively talks about the sport of boxing.
Yeah, welcome to Last Ones at the Bar. Like you see Dada right there, the baddest boxing podcast out. Today, we got a special show. I'm joined by my partner, my boy. We recapped and previewed and discussed the fight yesterday, the big fight that took place in the light heavyweight division. And it's none other than my guy, Ty Finney. Ty, how you doing today, good brother?
Man, doing good, man. Doing good. No, nice laid back day for me. So doing good for sure.
That's what's up, man. How was the weekend? What did you get yourself involved in? You do anything outside of watching that great boxing match yesterday?
Nah, yesterday was pretty much a lazy day for me, but like today, like once we get done this show, I gotta meet a lady because she makes like desserts, pies, cakes, and stuff, and I placed an order with her. So like once we get done, I'm gonna take a ride up to Delaware and get my stuff that I ordered. So.
Okay, how far is Delaware from you, the border?
I would say probably like a good hour. Like sometimes she meets her customers. I don't know if that's going to be the case today. So I would say probably like a little over an hour. So it's not too bad. But I've been meeting her for, getting food from her and stuff for a long time. So nothing new.
Gotcha, man. Delaware, I've been through there. I went to Rehoboth, but I never went to the other side of Delaware, like the heart of Delaware. So that's something that I definitely want to do. There's a lot of black people out there in Delaware too, isn't
it? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what's up. I don't think a lot of people know that. I ain't really gonna discuss, what happened, my weekend or anything like that. It's gonna be an extended one for me. But I do want to, touch on a few things. I like to go on a little rant before we get started. So the views and opinions, this is mine. This is not of Ty Finney. It's not of Last Ones at the Bar per se. It's just Wilton Henry's thoughts and views, right? And so that my unpopular opinion for this week is going to be about these three things right here, man. So you got the big election coming up November 5th. The two main candidates is going to be Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Things that appalled me this past weekend, first and foremost, Kobe Bryant, the great number 24, number 8 Laker, would never do what Magic Johnson did the other day. You had two gentlemen who I hold in high regard. And Magic Johnson, he was speaking to some supporters of Kamala Harris. But the thing is that he went on this little rampage about, helping to get black men out there to vote and things of that nature. Good brother. Magic, I just want you to understand that we're grown men, my guy. You know what I mean? In the way that you were talking to us as if we are less than, and that we're a group of people who need to be educated in terms of what it is that we are or what we need. You know what I mean? Don't talk at us. And speaking of talking at us, Barack Obama, he made a speech, or he was talking to a group of blacks in Pittsburgh. And so some of the things that he mentioned, he said that it's two stark candidates that you're choosing from, and it shouldn't be any reason for you not to choose Harris. And so the things that he said she grew up like you. She knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes with those experiences. My question is how? The only thing that I agree with, she did go to Howard, but outside of that, what experience does she have that's similar to me, sir? That's what I want to know. Like, what experience? I didn't grow up in Montreal. I didn't grow up in an all-white, pretty much Madison, Wisconsin, where she grew up. I don't have Indian people in my family. I didn't grow up, being a Hindu. So I don't understand what you're saying, sir. How is her experience similar to to ours. Also, he said that she's putting together concrete proposals to directly address what is vital to our communities, from housing, making sure our fathers and grandparents can afford medicine and healing prices. I mean, dealing with prices and rents that are too high, making sure everyone has health care and cares about things like education, entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. Sir, the problem that you're going to have, and sir, I think that you're out of touch. This is not 2008. And the thing is, I hold this guy in high regard. Barack Obama, at that time, in that moment, I think that's what we needed. And his nuanced approach and understanding the intricacies of what people were going through. I listened to your speech, sir, when you talked about Trayvon Martin, and you talked about how the Black experience and how we can view that situation. You knew all of the intricacies. Now, what I had a problem with was you did a really good job of saying, like, you addressed the problem, but then you also had a solution. I thought the solution was rather weak because it was never going to fix anything that was going on, but at least you had some type of resolution to that situation. But I think more importantly, everybody understood that you knew what the average Black male goes through in our society. Now, the candidate that you are asking us to vote for, I don't think she understands that. I've never heard her have a nuanced approach. Only thing I've heard her say was things that she wasn't going to do specifically for Black people. And I've never heard any politician specifically talk to a particular demographic and tell them what they're not going to do for them and then expect them to support that person. I've never seen it. I'm not going to be the one who does it. I'm not going to sit up here and outwardly support somebody who doesn't have my best interest. He said he has a problem with men who think about sitting out in this election. And he focused in on men don't want to vote for a woman. Sir, I think you got this mixed up, sir. A lot of people don't want to vote for that woman because what is she going to do? Like, what is what specific policies does she have that's going to address the needs of us? And we got to get out of that nonsense of just supporting the Democratic Party because the Republicans are the boogeyman. No, you got to have something tangible for me to go out and support you. When they talk about union workers, when they talk about fracking, those are specific things, and they're trying to address certain groups of people. So you're going to have something for me. Don't sit up here and talk at me and tell me that I need to do this. No, ask me, what do I need? And so I can support you. And then you can tell me if you're willing to do that, if you're not going to do that, and then I can make my decision. This is a whole new day, sir. I think you better learn how to read the room like you used to know how to read the room, unless you're just too far off, dealing with the billionaires and people like that you're around. My last thing is this. Anybody who's supporting Kamala Harris, I like to know why. Like, why? Last thing I'm going to say about Barack Obama is this. Mr. Obama, do I agree with you when you telling me that I should support her because because she's Black and that sort of thing? Maybe that's what you're saying. I know that sounds like what Magic is saying. Or do I believe the great Martin Luther King when he says, judge people on the content of their character? Which one is it, sir? It's the last thing. That's my 3 the hard way, man. So now, if you want to go ahead and donate to the show, man, hit that Cash App right there. Don't cap, hit the Cash App, $M Will Hen. And, we can make our podcast great even more. You understand what I'm saying? So now I'm going to go ahead and scroll through, and let's go ahead and get this boxing conversation afloat. Don't come on here. You know what I'm saying? If you decide to join, don't sit up here and be making excuses for Tank Davis, because that's going to irritate the host. You understand what I'm saying? That's your boy out there in Tijuana. I need to get back out there. That's juicy right there. But anyway, yesterday we saw, and I know that you revisited the fight, Legend. And when you revisited the fight, did you think that it was closer than what you thought when you first saw it? Because I know when you're talking about it, you were saying that you thought that Beterbiev lost for sure. So what's your thoughts? And I'm gonna get my guys on here too. So let me go ahead before you answer that, Marky Dan. I see Marky Dan. He's ready to get up in the building, get up in this action. You got your boy Scotty said, "What's good, wouldn't tie and chat." I hope everyone enjoyed the big fight. Man, that was a very good fight, especially if you are somebody who likes like just the game in terms of technique and things like that. Both guys did what it is that they're good at, and those styles matched up pretty well. There's some things that I'm going to address when I speak, but I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of these. He says, Will, Vel, salute. And I do want to say this, my boy Vel, he's taking care of some business. Keep Vel in your prayers, though. It's not anything about him, or just keep his family in your prayers, I would ask. He says she worked at McDonald's, and then she did tell us she worked the fries. Come on, man. All right, Link, I got you, fellas. I'm gonna go ahead and drop that in there. So talk to us, King. What did you see yesterday?
Yeah, so I would settle for a draw. That's just me. I'll settle for a draw, but like it was definitely a chess match. You know, both guys had their own styles, and Bivol, to me, he was using his footwork, pacing around the ring. I'm not going to say he was running. I'm just saying he was using his footwork, and he did that because Beterbiev is not a guy that you should stand in front of and trade with. We know his power is different, so the game plan that Bivol had, you know, pacing around the ring, using his footwork, throwing combinations, it worked. It worked to his advantage. And you know, one thing I noticed that like he tried to get a little busy at the end of the rounds. You know, at the end of the rounds, that's when he started definitely letting his hands go. But why not do that earlier in the fight? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then you know, in the later rounds, to me, that's when you know, Beterbiev, that's when he started pouring it on. You know what I mean? In the championship rounds, you know, the last few rounds, Beterbiev, you know, he was, you know, stalking Bivol. And like I said, he was throwing shots from all angles, throwing uppercuts, throwing hooks, body shots, jabs. So, like, you know, the championship rounds are also very important. You know what I mean? And this is the undisputed, you know, championship in the light heavyweight division. So, to me, I would settle for a draw. I'm cool with the decision. I have no problem with the decision. Some fans felt that, you know, Beterbiev won. Some fans felt that Bivol won. Some think it was a draw. Like I'm cool with the decision 100%. And like I said, to me, I had it a draw. I think both guys did what they needed to do. It was a chess match. And at the end of the day, it was a great fight. And, you know, they showed out for the fans.
Man, what they just, you know what it sounded like to me, man, they need to do it again. Sheldon, what's good, good brother? I'm going to go ahead and let you rock. I'm going to let you fellas rock out a little bit today. I think I'd be, you know, I don't want to, you know, overdo as far as what it is that I see and things of that nature. I'm going to let you fellas cook. And again, welcome to the show, Sheldon.
Thank you, sir. And no, you don't do too much, man. The show runs the way it runs because you run it the way you run it. And keep doing what you're doing. But I will say this. Any questions that any fans have about Dmitry Bivol should have been answered yesterday. The man can box. The man got a chin on him. He's a dog. Now, where I believe he did himself a disservice is, if you remember, I think it was the 6th or the 7th round, I may be mistaken. He hurt Beterbiev, and he went in for the kill. And as he's going in for the kill, he got clipped. And the whole fight changed after that. That fight reminded me a lot of Trinidad versus De La Hoya, where
you know
De La Hoya did himself
the same
service.
So now I'm going to cut you off. When Ty was saying what he was saying, that's what was going through my mind. I'm like, he gave away to me the latter part of the rounds, but keep going, keep cooking.
Yes, sir. So I think that there were swing rounds in the beginning because a lot of fans were saying that Bivol won the first 5 rounds. After 5 rounds, I had it 4-1 Bivol. But in the end, like my man was saying, the championship rounds, he gave away too many rounds. And Beterbiev started to close in, turn it on, hit him with body shots, hit him with uppercuts, those short little shots that he throws. And the only problem I really had with the decision was the one judge who had an 8-4 Beterbiev. I don't know what you were watching, sir, but that was not the fight that happened yesterday. But salute to both guys. Great fight. And I'm with Will. I think they need to run that back. Oh, and I will say this. I heard Beterbiev talking about moving up. If you move up to cruiserweight, you need to fight Badu Jack or the winner of Billum Smith and Zerto. Stay as far away as you can from Jai Opetaia. That will not end well for you, sir.
What's good, Gladiator? You there? You there, good guy? Because we we keeping it moving now. We not lull in action now. We better be when it comes to these shows, man. We keep applying the pressure. Talk to us, kid. What's in it? What you see?
Yeah, what's good, Will?
Good. What you see, sir? We keeping action going. What did you see yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday I saw a great fight. Classic fight. Beterbiev, in my opinion, won the fight 7-5. Bivol came out boxing. That jab was very authoritative. Beterbiev also came back with his own jab, but he was just throwing two ones and twos. I like how Bivol came out and he made it how do I say it? He made it a priority to throw 3-punch combinations to try and back up Beterbiev. But I'd say I gave Bivol the first 3 rounds. After round 4, I gave round 4 to 6 to Bivol, or excuse me, round 4 to 6 to Beterbiev. Then Bivol came back in round I'd say round 8. No, excuse me, round 7. Then I gave that other round 8 to Beterbiev. Bivol did himself a real disservice, like Shelton said. I can't remember if it was round 7 or round 6. He had Beterbiev hurt, then he chased him down. You don't ever chase down a puncher like that. That's something that I've heard Teddy Atlas say. That's something Tim Bradley said yesterday that I definitely agree with. George Foreman, that's something he said in the past. And that's something that bit Bivol in the ass. And he got hurt. I think he lost that round. He started to get beat up. And like Ty said, it came down to those last 2 rounds on my scorecard. And I gave it to Beterbiev because I felt like Bivol was resting too much. Or not even resting too much. He was just shelling up. He wasn't returning fire until like the last 10 seconds of the round. Beterbiev, I thought he won the fight 7-5, but I've heard a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't have had a problem if it was a draw because it was a very close fight. But I've heard a lot of people say Bivol won it 7-5. I wouldn't have cried foul if he won. I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have looked at it that way. I think that it was a very close fight. There were a lot of competitive rounds, but I think the right man won because Beterbiev won those championship rounds.
Right. As far as what I saw in this fight, man, I thought that Beterbiev won the fight. And some people have a problem with the 8-4. See, I didn't, because here's the thing. When I was watching the fight, I didn't know what the judges were going to be rewarding because Bivol was throwing some punches, but sometimes it's hard to get around. What's going to have some big forearms, man. And so when he's up here doing this, you can be throwing punches, but a lot of that stuff's not getting in. And some of the things that Bivol would land in comparison to when Beterbiev would land, it was totally like, it's like a small gun going against a big gun. It's like, okay, ping, ping, ping. Then I do boom, boom. You know what I mean? That's what I saw. So in that constant pressure, the way he was, like delivering his shots and placing his shots, I thought it was a masterful performance, especially somebody at that age. Just taking all that out of the equation, just watching the fight, I thought that he won. But again, it depends if you preferred like the movement, and then you preferred how Bivol was throwing more punches. Like I said, I thought that Beterbiev won. So if you look at the punch test, I think this is inaccurate because Bivol looked like he threw more punches to me. But the way they had it landed, it was close. And like I said, if you have somebody who's landing heavier punches and somebody who's not landing as heavy of the shots, I got to go with the heavier punches being landed. And it wasn't like he's just this guy throwing 1 or 2 shots without technique. Like, this dude is very good with his balance. He's always constantly pressuring you. And here's the thing. I think Bivol at the end of the fight, we say that he gave away those rounds. I don't think he would have lasted had he tried to stand his ground. That's the thing. Like, so I think he was better off doing what he was doing. He was constantly getting worn out. So both guys did what you expected them to do. A lot of people thought towards the end Bivol would get stopped. You know, they would say like 11th round, 10th round, you know, knockout, but he was able to, you know, make a good account of himself going all 12. And like I said, you could have conceivably given him the fight. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I just, based on my scoring and based on what I like in a fight and in a performance, I lean more towards Beterbiev. But yeah, no, I mean, it was all around good fight. What did you guys think about the card overall, as far as like the fights on the undercard? I saw that one kid, Fabio or something like that, he put a dent up in his opponent's head. Then you had Ben Whitaker. I thought he pulled a punk move.
He quit.
Yeah,
he quit.
Yeah, but what do you think about the card?
Overall, the card was excellent. I thought the card was great overall.
Yeah. What about you, Legend?
Yeah, to me it was a good card overall. Like I said, pretty much all the fights ended in the stoppage. Yeah, it all ended in, you know, pretty much all the fights ended in like a stoppage. Like I said, Ben Whitaker, like his fight was unfortunate. Like I said, he leaned back, his opponent Cameron leaned forward. They both fell over the ropes, and you know, so that fight was over. I hope they can run it back. You know, Chris Eubank, he had a good fight. You know, to me, he still slightly is mimicking Roy Jones. He even looked like a Roy Jones, but he got the job done. You know, got his opponent out of there. So, you know, congrats to, you know, Chris Eubank. So, and then, you know, the co-main, Fabio Worley, man, that was a bad stoppage, you know, for his opponent, man. His opponent looked like he was having a stroke or something, but it was definitely a good call. And, you know, I hope his opponent's okay.
Did you see it? All right, man. I thought it was a good card overall. So Tavern says last ones at the bar. What's going on, Tavern, man? If you want to go ahead and stop through, you know, and let us know what you thought yesterday, you're more than welcome to go
What's
ahead.
What's good, man, Chad?
And anybody that's in the chat, you're more than welcome to stop through. I'm gonna keep the action flowing. Next week you got another fight. As far as to me, I really respect the gentleman that's going to be on the in the main event, and that's Tim Tszyu. Ty, we talked a little bit yesterday about him. I commend guys like that for wanting all the smoke, because even after the Fundora fight, he was supposed to fight against Ortiz, but he couldn't get cleared. You know what I'm saying? So he just wants all of the dudes. He's not ducking any smoke. Previously, I just thought he was a knockoff of his father, but dude, really, he got some hands though too. So next week, you got Backroom. He's going against Tim Tszyu in the main event. Backroom won his title against Calcay in his last fight, and so Tim Tszyu is going to be coming in at 24-1 with 17 KOs. They call him the Soul Taker. He's 29 years of age, out of Australia. The younger, the son of his father, who was a monster at 140, and he's 5'8.5", 70-inch reach, coming off the fight where he lost a lot of blood in that Fundora fight, but now he's cleared. And like I say, he's going against Backroom. I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name, but he is 31 years of age, out of Russia. He's coming from that Russia school of boxing, a little bit taller than Tim. He's 22-0 with 16 KOs, and he's coming off victory in his last fight, 11th round KO stoppage over Jack Cal K, or Call K. All right, Legend, talk to us, King. Who you think is going to win this one and why?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Backroom, but so I can't really predict this one. But like as you were saying about Tim Tszyu, man, I take my hat off to him. Like he was on a nice run. You know, he was supposed to, you know, end up fighting, you know, Jamel Charlo, but you know, Charlo went up and waited, and you know, to take on the bigger prize and fight Canelo Alvarez. But
Can I hear him?
Yeah, but Tim Tszyu, like I said, man, his last fight with Fundora, you know, unfortunately, you know, he had a bad cut on his head. I had him winning the fight prior to that, But you know, he's right back in there. He's taking on a undefeated fighter. So I take my hat off to him. You know, may the best man win.
Who you got?
I'll probably go with Tim Tszyu.
Gotcha. What about you, Sheldon? You familiar with Backlund?
Yes, sir. I'm very familiar with Backlund versus Aliev. And I'll preface this by saying, first, I love the Soul Taker. I think he's a throwback type fighter. He's done some great things, but I'm not going to crown him just yet. I don't think he beats Backlund. I think Murtazaliev beats him. The styles are going to match up perfect because in this fight, the one thing for certain and two things for sure, nobody is going to have to look for nobody. They're going to meet in the center of the ring and they're going to fight. I just think Bakr Murtazaliev has a little bit too much for Tim Tszyu. I got Murtazaliev in a majority decision.
Let me go ahead and give you some what I think, man. I think that Murtazaliev, he won, like I say, he won his title in his last fight. But here's the thing, you know, in that fight, he was going against like nearly a 40-year-old guy, right? Tim Tszyu's younger, hungrier, you know, and like, you know, Tim Tszyu in his fight that he lost against Fundora, like you say, Ty, he was cooking, you know, until the cut, you know, end up happening and all of that blood started flowing into his eyes. So that changed the trajectory of that fight. And you got to keep in mind, Fundora, who's like 6'5", was a late replacement. So that's kind of difficult to rearrange your fighting technique for that particular opponent when you were facing somebody who was totally different. And like I said, he wasn't clear, you know, to fight before, but he wanted that smoke. So he got that hunger in his belly. I liked him because he uses that educated pressure, you know, and he's his presence, like he keeps, it's a certain presence about him that kind of, you know, it projects or poses a problem for his opponents. His methodical approach, you know, breaks down his foes, and he has, you know, like really good skill. But that right hand, you know, is pretty lethal as well. Now, Murtazaliev, I like what I see with him. He has decent footwork. I like that low stabbing jab to the body that he uses, and then he keeps his opponents at range, you know, for the work that he likes to do. Like it works for him, you know what I'm saying, the range that he fights in. Got a good pop in both hands, but he can be hot and cold, because even in that cold cage fight, at certain moments he looked really good, but then at certain moments he looked a little vulnerable. And he can't make too many mistakes against the Soul Taker. And once he does make that mistake, I think that that's where the problem is going to lie. He's a good counterpuncher, albeit against limited opposition so far. That's the reason why I got to go with Timothy. I got to go with Tim Tszyu. I'm going to say like a middle round stoppage. I'm going to go 6-round TKO victory for the Soul Taker. What about you, Gladiator?
Well, I'm not really familiar with Murtazaliev, but I'm looking at his record. 22 fights, let me see here. Yep, 22 fights, 22 wins, 16 knockouts. So he carries a lot of power. But Tim Tszyu, just from what I've seen of him, I think that he's a great talent. I'm not gonna say he's special. I think that he has a great work ethic about himself. I think he has a great character about himself. And not only that, he throws great punches. He's very balanced with his footwork. I think just looking at, like I said, I'm not familiar with Murtazaliev, but looking at his record and looking at Tim Tszyu's style, I think it'll be a great fight. Hopefully we get a knockout, whoever it happens to. But I'm hoping that Tim Tszyu wins this fight. And hopefully he unifies with Bud next. And we'll see if maybe we could get Bud and Earl too for a unification. Or maybe it'll be the young guys coming in, you know, and cleaning up the old guys.
Yeah, I just keeping it on Tim. This would be a good opportunity. So if he's able to get this belt, then it's going to open up opportunities for him to be able to get the rematch against Fundora, to potentially face an Ortiz, potentially face the guy that Madrimov and people like that. So it'll be a plethora of fights for him to take. And then also the kind of past it Errol Spence, you know, but that would be a good name on his resume if he's able to get some of those guys. But I like him because he's made of that stuff that you want a fighter to be made of. So shout out to Tim Zoo. Last week we were going to discuss the Colbert versus Salcido fight, but they postponed the fight to this week. We can go ahead and give a few, you know, thoughts on what it is that we want to see in this one. You got Colbert is 28, 17-2 with 6 KOs, 1 KO loss. But in retrospect, the guys that he's lost to have went on to win championships. So he hasn't, you know, been losing to any just, you know, mediocre opponents. He's been losing to potential or champions or future champions. Out of Brooklyn, 71-inch reach. Again, coming off that Valenzuela KO loss. And then you got Omar Salcido Gomez. He's 19-1, 13 knockouts, 24 years of age, younger, 5'7". He's coming off of a victory of 8-round decision in December against Luis Correa. All right. So in this fight, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Salcido that much, but what are your expectations for Colbert in this fight? What would you like to see from him? Go ahead with you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would definitely hope, you know, this time around that he's listening to a team and, you know, try to not get hard-headed and get full of himself, because, you know, that was the downfall in his last fight. But his opponent looks like he has some pop. Omar, it looks like he's got a lot of power. So, you know, Chris Colbert is going to have to definitely be on his A game with his defense, because, like, this guy can definitely has the power to, you know, take him out. So I might lean to Salcido in this fight, but I do believe that, you know, Chris Colbert, he's been there with the tougher opposition. But like I said, I hope that he listens to his team and be on his A game. But I'll probably go with Salcido.
You going with Salcido?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The way you was talking, I thought you was going with Colbert. What about you, Sheldon? Who you got?
In this fight, I want to see exactly what Chris Colbert has left, you know, in the tank. Does he still want it? Because there's been a lot of stories. I know a guy who trains in New York in the same gym as Chris Colbert, and he tells me that this guy is terrible, you know, off schedule, outside the ring. He has a lot of bad habits, not, you know, alcohol or drugs, nothing like that, but eating. So I got to see what his dedication looks like. I'll know, you know, when he gets to the ring. I just want to see what Colbert has left, because if Colbert has at least 70 or 80% of what he had when he first started out, he should beat this guy.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a guy that should beat a guy like Chris Colbert. But if Chris Colbert loses to this guy, he should maybe start thinking about a second professional.
Yeah, he's done. What about you, Gladiator?
I'm not really familiar with Salcido, but I am familiar with Chris Colbert. And I know that he is a goddamn bum. He is going to get beat to death. Excuse me?
Sir, how about we get you the hell out of here, sir? Bill, how you doing, sir? Again, man, you can't be cussing, brother. Like you keep doing the same thing over and over. I hate to be like the bad wolf or whatever, but we gotta get you the hell up out of here, sir. Like it's you're doing too much, man. Stop it, brother. Like if you can't just Bill, how you doing today, good brother? You all right? I saw Bill in the chat.
Oh yeah. What you hear me? Am I coming through?
You keep coming through loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, I just had to get on and see what was going on with you guys, man. Just checking in. So hey, the floor is yours. Whatever you want to ask me, I'm here.
Yes, sir. While we have
what's going on, bro?
What up, Sheldon? Salute, Ty.
Yes, sir. I think that probably while we have you, yesterday fight, you know, you had the big fight for light heavyweight supremacy. And we just want to get your thoughts on what you saw, because there was a lot of controversy. Some people thought it was a robbery. Some people thought Beterbiev won. Some people thought Bivol won. Well, the floor is yours, sir. What did you see?
I thought it was a close fight, and some of it is dependent on, I would say, kind of the broadcast you watch. I mean, because if you listen to certain commentary, it sounds different, and it sounds like something else is happening. And then, because I also watched, different, highlights also, and based off of which highlight you watched, I did notice that certain highlights they showed Beterbiev his action more so than Bivol, and then vice versa with a whole nother broadcast. But really, what I saw, I think what it was is that Bivol kind of fought his fight a little bit more than Beterbiev, and that doesn't mean that he won more rounds. It just mean that the fight went more. What he was doing, it was more his speed, because Beterbiev was really trying to break him down, and Beterbiev really couldn't break him down. But at the same time, he was doing enough damage where a case could be made that he did win. Now, I'm not saying I felt like Beterbiev just won, but I thought it was a close fight that could have went either way, and it was a draw type of fight. And I thought that it's almost like watching Oscar De La Hoya versus Shane Mosley, the rematch, where, I mean, it's almost like, because the commentators and crowd, they're watching a different fight than what you're seeing, it can influence your decision. But I thought it was a close fight, could have went either way.
Right. What you bringing up, and it's unfortunate, man. Like, why is everything like that now? Like, everything is so much propaganda involved. It depends on the network. Like, they just overly glorify something. Just call it like you see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to do all that type of stuff. Like, when I watched Sky Sports, that was horrible. So I'm watching it. Beterbiev had a good round, but every highlight they showing, even if he's landing, they don't even acknowledge the fact that he landed something. It's like, oh, you see the jab by Bivol. He's keeping the jab on. It's like, dude, you see that right hand that he just ate, though, too. Like, at least point that out. I got to a point I have to turn away from them and go to ESPN. So I don't like that piece of it. But at the same time, not making any argument, because people saw what they saw. You like what you like, and like you said, it was that close where it could have actually went either way. What are your thoughts about?
You make a great point too. I think you make a great point about the narrative part of it, because especially when you go back and watch fights that happened in the past and the narrative was set out there, you can see something different. Like, even yesterday, you brought up the Charlo Tony Harrison fight, and that's not the robbery that everybody thinks it is, And even though the first fight with Pacquiao and Tim Bradley, even though I still have Pacquiao winning that fight, it wasn't as dominant as people want to believe, and that he just washed Bradley, and that it was the biggest robbery in the world. Bradley was doing a lot of work. It's just that every time Pacquiao did something, the crowd and everything reacted. And of course, Pacquiao landed the harder punches, but it wasn't as clear and it wasn't as dominant as people want you to believe.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I like, and then piggybacking off of that, like, and also adding on to what I was saying earlier, it's nothing that you can see anymore that's down the middle. Like, everybody has their slant. Everybody has their agenda, right? You can't even watch, you try to watch the news, like try to watch CNN or watch this channel. Like, everything is so slanted, man. And it's just, you have to be able to think for yourself, in this day and age more than any other time. You know what I mean? But shout out to both of them dudes, man. They both did their thing. Let me ask you fellas this, though. Who would you favor in a rematch? Beterbiev is going to be a little bit older. Bivol has seen what it is that Beterbiev brings to the table as well. Beterbiev seen what Bivol has brought to the table. Do you think anything changes? Will it be that razor thin of a fight next time, or do you think somebody has an edge going into a rematch?
I would say I would go with Beterbiev in a rematch. I would go with Beterbiev, and I say that because, like, he's went 12 rounds for the first time. So I think he's gonna like look back over the fight, see what he could capitalize on, because we know that Bivol doesn't have power like that. So I think that Beterbiev, he would try to walk him down a little better. And we already seen that Bivol's face was real bruised up. So I think that Beterbiev, he can get the rematch if he walks him down, let his hands go earlier like he did in those championship rounds, and I think he could take it. But I think Bivol would probably still be doing the same thing, try to stay away from his power. And you can't win a championship fight like that. So, you got to let your hands go and let them land. So I think that Beterbiev would definitely win this time around.
Before you fellas cook, man, but as I'm thinking about it, that dude got some power, bro. Like he touch you, like that stuff be hurting. You can tell it be hurting his opponents. And then it's like nobody can really go through that fight and not be, or go through a fight with him and not be worn down. Like and then you don't want to keep getting touched with that stuff. But anyway, what you fellas think would transpire in a rematch between the two? Who would you favor?
I would actually favor Bivol in the rematch. And the reason I would favor Bivol is because, as you stated so eloquently, Beterbiev will be 40 or 41 by the next time they fight.
Yeah.
And by Bivol going through that this time, I think the one mistake, like I said earlier, I thought the one mistake Bivol made was taking his foot off the gas, and I don't think he would do that this time. I think his attitude would be like, well, I can't win this thing boxing, so either I'm going to go out or you're going to go out. Because we can't sit here and act like Beterbiev wasn't hurt yesterday, because he was hurt a couple times. Bivol was hurt a couple times. So Bivol's not this light punching dude that everybody thinks he is, because Beterbiev didn't walk through that stuff and come get him. He had to respect Bivol's power. So I think the younger guy with a different mentality, I think he'll have a different mentality in the rematch. I think he'll beat Beterbiev.
What about you, Val? What you think?
I will favor Beterbiev in a rematch. It's still hard to predict because of course, Beterbiev will be older and he has that wear and tear. But I feel like by the end of the last night's fight, that he was more all right with what he saw as opposed to how Bivol was. He was more disappointed in his own performance, but he was all right with what he saw when it came to Bivol. He knew how good Bivol is, but he also knew, okay, if I do this, next time I can do it. I feel more comfortable in that way with Beterbiev than I do with Bivol. So I will favor Beterbiev to step on the gas even harder and overcome a slower start, and probably I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I can see him stopping Bivol still, but as y'all stated, the punches hurt, and I feel like he's gonna hurt Bivol more times in the rematch, and I think he's gonna get started quicker. Yes, I'll favor Beterbiev.
The only reason I favor Beterbiev is two main reasons. One, keep in mind going into that fight, Bivol was more fine-tuned because he had that tune-up fight where Beterbiev was recuperating from the surgery that he had. That was a short time to come back from a meniscus tear. So more time to be able to heal that up, I think is better for him. And then two, the quicker they have the rematch, the more fine-tuned he's going to be, and where he doesn't have to, shed some of that rust that he had going into this fight. So I think he'll be better suited to be able to fight the fight that you saw him pressing and fighting like 6th round, 7th round on. He'll start sooner. You know what I mean? And another thing I want to add in there, this dude fasted 3 days. Like, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? That's what was throwing me off. I'm like, this dude over here fasting, and doing that sort of thing before this week. Now we got somebody else. We got Rod coming in. Rod, how you doing? Good brother.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for showing up. We just want to get your take yesterday on what you saw in that Beterbiev and Bivol fight yesterday.
Well, first off, I'm really grateful for that type of event because this is what we've been missing. I mean, was it the knockdown, drag-out fight that we all expected? No, but we're on pins and needles. We're going into that fight making picks, but not 100% sure. Like, I don't know because there's so many variables, and these guys are the two top guys facing off. So that's what we're missing. Like, because lately when I'm watching a Tank fight, I know what's gonna happen. Yeah, I'm kind of hyped, but I'm like, I know what's gonna happen. Same thing with the Canelo fights. I'm watching that. I'm like, it's boxing, so I'm a boxing nerd. So yeah, I'm gonna be, but I don't have that excitement, that adrenaline. Did y'all have like adrenaline going on like in the first week? Like, like I'm on the edge of my
Absolutely.
seat. I was pacing through the first couple of rounds. Like, man, come on, like I'm
Man,
rooting for both guys.
hey man, I'm sweating all underneath my arms and everything. It's just
I
like
thought
you
it was just me. Yeah, my palms are sweating and shit. I'm like trying to like I'm putting the fan on. I'm like, yo, well, like I haven't had that in a
So,
while.
so,
You know, I mean, but we
so
have
what
had
you
it like with
saying? It had a big fight feel to it. Is what you're saying? It
yeah,
had a
yeah. I
big
mean,
fight feel to it.
because the superstars in America like Canelo and Tank, they're not giving us that. You know, like I don't feel that nervous energy going into that fight. Like, man, this is it's about to go down. You know what I mean? Like we know what's gonna happen. So that's what I like about the fight. But when it comes to the robbery talk, I don't think it's a robbery, man. Like what I classify as a robbery is when you see an egregious scorecard, like when Canelo fought Triple G the first time, and that one judge had like Canelo winning like 11 rounds. And that's a robbery when you know something messed up happened backstage where somebody was in on it. Or like when Devin Haney fought Lomachenko in that round, that Devin Haney got rattled and buzzed bad, and looked like he was on his way out. A judge gave it to Devin Haney. So that when you see stuff like that, that's when I say, okay, it's a robbery, because
Mhm.
they're scoring things that are just not like, there's no way you can comprehend that. So
Right, right.
with this one, I had Bivol winning. I mean, no, Beterbiev. I'm sorry, I had Beterbiev winning. But if you have Bivol winning, I can't. I can see it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna
Mhm.
like. I'll give my points, but I'm not gonna say you're wrong,
Right.
because it was that type of fight. And I think it's gonna be a better fight going into the second round, to the second one, because like you said, he shook the rust. He's coming off that surgery. Like Beterbiev had a lot of things going against him in this fight, and
Mhm.
the one thing about Bivol, Top Rank got their way. If you know Top Rank, they love those 18 by 18 rings. So so he didn't have a lot of room to operate. And going into the rematch, Bivol is gonna know, okay, I didn't get the decision the last time. I'm gonna have to let my hands go more and secure these rounds and push myself that much more. So he's gonna expend that much more energy. He's gonna leave himself open a lot more. And that's why I agree with y'all. I think Beterbiev is going to be favorite, because he's going to shake the rust off, and Bivol's going to have to let his hands go. Sorry for being long winded.
No, man, it's a breath of fresh air to have a knowledgeable person on who, you make logical sense in terms of everything that you said. But you know what? I will say this though, Rod and fellas, I got to give Canelo a little bit more credit now for going through that fight with Bivol. Bivol's a bad boy. You know what I'm saying? He came out of there. He wasn't like busted up or anything like them. Like visually, he just couldn't really mess with him because he's too big and too technical. But I got to give him some credit, man, for being able to get through that fight with Bivol. But you need to stay the heck away from him. Don't even try to get no rematch with him. But the little 5'7" dude being able to hang in there with Bivol, that's impressive to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
he's durable. He's got a beard. I mean, he's got that. He doesn't have a neck. You know what I mean? He has that like Mike Tyson looking neck going on these days. But I
yeah,
mean, he is throwing out that mentioning him, and I think it's just to save face. I don't think Canelo has any intentions of fighting any one of these guys. But sometimes fighters do that. Sometimes fighters will be in an interview and they'll say, "Oh yeah," they'll just throw names out there, so it gives fans fuel to be like, "Oh yeah, see, he's gonna get his get back." But the guy
right.
probably has no intentions of getting these guys.
No, I don't seem like it. Rob, what we got you on here, good fella. You checking the fight out next week with Tim Zoo?
Oh yeah. Tim Zoo he's got that I like him, man. He's got that mean mentality, and I think he's pissed off about what happened with the Fundura fight, because he was on his way to winning that fight. I think he would have won if it wasn't for the cut.
Yeah,
So he's kind of like that hungry, that hungry fighter. You know what I mean? It's what you see with Bud. Like it's that mentality. I'm not saying he is as good as Bud, but he has that mentality where he's got something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder.
you got that dog in him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long he's gonna last, because he doesn't really move his head a lot. He's got power, but you know, he comes forward with his power really well. But I mean, he doesn't move his head at all. So we're going to see how he does moving forward. But yeah, that's going to be a good one, man. But I can't wait till the rematch of Bivol. Better be a Bivol. I think it's going to be a lot better.
Yes, sir. Rob, I'm gonna go ahead and let you up out of here on that. These fellas, right? They chomping at the bit, man. Hopefully you'll come back through soon. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, man, make sure you subscribe too now.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm glad I found it.
Yes, sir. All right, peace. That's Rod, ladies and gentlemen. All right, fellas, we good on this, or you want to touch on Colbert or anything like that, Vale, before we go ahead and move into our news?
No. The only comment about Colbert is, you know, the way I feel is like I think I want him to succeed, but I think he's the biggest enemy to himself, and part of that is because he's believing something. You know, you touch on this a little bit with past fighters. Some fighters are delusional, and sometimes he go in the ring thinking he's this puncher that he's not, and he's trying so hard that he's not using his actual gifts, which is, you know, speed, reflex. He's not really using that. He's trying to really step on punches and try to get guys out of there when he really can't. So I think that could be detrimental to him. And this is one of those fights where it's a crossroad. If he doesn't do well in this fight, then the writing will be on the wall.
Yeah. The delusion is, I think he also thinks he's a lot better than what he is. Because even like the Ryo fight, man, you can't. Each time he kept trying to like bang with him, and he's getting caught, you know, with those shots. And I don't know if he just has it in him to be able to do that. You know what he needs to do as far as being a little bit more slippery, because he's so quick and so he has talent, but it's just being able to put it together and be able to work a game plan all 12 rounds without lapses. And he has too many lapses, and then he tries to do things that he's not good at, and he goes into the strength of the other fighter, which gets him caught. And those things he needs to work on. And he needs to build an identity. Like, what's your identity as a fighter? That's the first thing, order of business, I think, for Chris Colbert. But we'll see, man. Hopefully it'll start on Wednesday. I say good luck to the young man. And like I say, if he humbles himself, and again, I don't mean humble yourself, talk your stuff, man. Be you. I'm saying humble yourself in a way of that you are coachable. Also humble yourself in terms of some of the things that you say about other people. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Also understand that other people who have done far more than you in the sport of boxing, it's not for you to sit up there and be trying to tell them what they should and shouldn't do, or talk down on a resume and things like that. You got to humble yourself in that way. And if he does, then, you know, he has a supporter in me. All right, now, the news, man. First and foremost, it looks like Errol Spence and Fundora in early 2025, Dallas, Texas. It looks like it's going to happen. What do you think will happen in this one, Ty? You know, if they do decide to, tango.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, man. I'm concerned for Errol Spence because he's been out of the ring. He hasn't fought once this year. So that's a long layoff, something we always see with PBC fighters. And I wish he would take a tune-up rather than just going in there with Fundora. I mean, this is a guy in a bigger weight class. He's got long reach. He's willing to trade. You know, he's willing to trade with you and stay in the pocket with you. So it's tough for me to call. But if Spence can get inside and work that body, he's definitely got a shot in this fight. You know, we've seen Fundora. He doesn't have the best chin. We've seen him go down. I think it was Erickson Lubin. We've seen him go down against Brian Mendoza, and we do know that Spence has power. Spence got pop. So it's a tough one, man. But just with the circumstances involved, with Spence being inactive, and, you know, I just have to go with Fundora by this one. I'll say by decision.
Got you. I don't know what Errol is doing, man. Like, all that stuff about not taking tune-ups and things like that, you know, that's cool, you know, the few times that he did it, but you can't keep going to that well, because you need to have tune-ups. You need to make sure that psychologically, physically, mentally, that you back together, especially after getting mollywopped like he did against Terrence Bud Crawford. So going to this fight, I would favor Fundora, because he's awkward, he's unique, he's long, The Arrow will be going into a new weight class for the first time. Long layoff, poor performance against Crawford. No, I think that's a recipe for being what's going to end up happening. He's going to get retired. You know what I mean? Hopefully you get a good payday, you know, for his efforts. Also, you got Stephen Fulton versus Brandon Figueroa rematch December 14th. Are you leaning towards Fulton in that one?
Yeah, dude, that was a good fight the first time around. Very, very good fight. You know, Fulton, to me, he got in trouble and hurt, you know, a few times against Brandon Figueroa. But Brandon Figueroa has that style that just makes you uncomfortable. He comes forward, you know, I mean, he pushes you on the ropes, throw punches from all angles. But Fulton, he's always able to adjust. He's always able to fight the fighter's game, and he's always been successful at it. And I gotta tip my hat off to Fulton, man. He's been in some wars, you know, even though he had a long layoff after the Nui fight, he went in there in a dog fight with his last opponent, Carlos Castro, and now he's jumping right back in there with a rematch against Brandon Figueroa. So I tip my hat off to him, taking all these tough opponents. But like I said, he's the guy that makes the adjustments. We've seen that he was dropped in his last fight against Carlos Castro, but he turned it around, landed big shots through bombs of his own, and he came out victorious. And I think in this fight, he would definitely do the same thing. He would make adjustments. He would fight Figueroa's game, and he'll come out victorious. I don't think he'll get a stoppage, but I think he'll have a hard, tough fight and end up with a 12-round decision. Like, his lack of power is the only thing I hate for him. But you know, when you don't have power like that, you got to make adjustments. You got to be on your A game with your defense, and you got to be letting your hands go. You know what I mean? So, but I think Stephen Fulton would definitely come out on top.
Yeah, I definitely would favor Stephen Fulton. Fulton, I won't say too much about this topic per se, but I will say I like Fulton, what he's made of. I can tell that he's somebody that, you know, he's in the gym working hard. He's learning and he's trying to, you know, harness his craft to the best of his ability. And that's all you can ask for in these young fellas. And he has dog in him. You know what I mean? Like you say, he was dropped in his last fight. Inoue was, you know, getting the better of him, but he never quit. You know, he kept coming back for more. And then in other fights, he bit down on his mouthpiece and he kept, you know, fighting through any adversity that he's ever gone through. I like him against Figueroa. I don't think much of Figueroa, to be honest with you. I just think that in the weight class that he fought in previously, he just was getting by because he was just a bigger guy who can apply pressure. And like I said, he was kind of like the Swift Hurt of that division. Just a big guy, can take punishment and things like that and eventually wear his smaller opponent down. Now, when you go up there to like they fight at 126, you know, up there, it may be a different story where dudes can absorb punches much better. And he doesn't have that huge advantage as far as size. So I think if it's not Fulton who's going to, you know, mollywop him, it's going to be somebody else because he's just not that talented to me. Also, man, we didn't talk about this. I think earlier this past week, David Benavidez, it was a bombshell where he said that, you know, he's already signed to fight David Morrell on January 25th at light heavyweight. Now, talk to me, Ty. Who you like in this one right here? And also, shout out to my guy, Tavern. He said, "Great show, man. Hit the like and subscribe, please, do." And again, thank you, sir. Who you like in that one, man? That's gonna be a goodie right there.
Yeah, I definitely got to go with David Benavidez. I think this would be both guys' second time fighting at 175, if I'm not mistaken. So this would be their second fight in a you know, the different weight class. But in their last fights, I don't think that Morrell, he didn't look so great in his last fight. But to me, a lot of people were saying that about Benavidez. But you know, he fought Gosford. Gosford was a
better opponent.
Yeah, he was a legit opponent. And to me, Benavidez did a great job against him. Like I said, he came out victorious. But I'm gonna definitely go with Benavidez. Like, you know, he's got the experience on his side. He's fought Caleb Plant, went the distance with him, fought Demetrius Andrade, and, you know, he stopped him. So he's definitely got the experience on his side. But David Morrell, he's a big guy. You know, he's just as big as Benavidez. He throws big shots. He comes forward. And, you know, his fight against Adolf Bolsonaro, you know, after that fight, Bolsonaro went into a coma. And I recall that, you know, after the fight was over, Morrell was, you know, picking Bolsonaro up and taking it back to his corner. So Morrell, he's got power. You know, he's got power. He always was the main event in his hometown in Minnesota. But I think that he's definitely a fresh fighter. He can give Benavidez some trouble early on in the fight. But I just think that if they were both to stand there and trade with each other, I think that Benavidez just would get the best of him. So I'm gonna go with Benavidez in this fight, probably by a late stoppage.
You know what's crazy though, Ty? The more I think about this fight, the more I'm liking Morrell. And I'm gonna tell you why. I like David Benavidez. You know, obviously David is gonna win this fight. But the way their styles match up, like Morrell can crack, Morrell can move, Morrell is big. And then also, I think it's two things about Morrell in this last fight. I think people are not giving Hot Rod as much credit as he deserves because he has, if you look at Hot Rod's resume, he got busy with some really good opponents. He may have not won those fights, but he was competitive. And so in this one, right, I want to say he fought Beterbiev. Now, in this fight right here, I think that Morrell actually is going to fare better now that he's acclimated to 175. He's going to be more comfortable. And then also he's fighting somebody else who's another 168-pound guy who's moving up to 175. So it won't be as daunting in terms of the girth of Benavidez. Benavidez is a big guy. He's just not used to fighting at that weight like Morrell. So that's going to cancel things out. Now, here's the deal, though. I just think that Benavidez is used to not. He beat Gazdic, but he started to, you know, he didn't look as vicious against Gazdic. Again, Gazdic is a good opponent. But I still think that he's used to fighting smaller dudes. David Morrell has a two-fisted attack. He can move. He has angles. And then the one thing is that he always wanted David Benavidez. He's been calling this dude out for a long time. So it has to be something that he sees in David Benavidez that he can take advantage of. So that's the reason why I'm a slightly lean towards David Morrell in that fight once it takes place. All right, just a few more topics. Are you interested in the fight that's going to take place December 7th? You got Emmanuel Navarrete, Oscar Valdez 2. Are you interested in that one? And do you think things are going to play out the way they did in the first fight?
Yeah, I'm not really too interested in it. Well, I know that Oscar Valdez, he has some pop, but you know he's not that great against the more technical fighters, like we said. Shakur Stevenson did to him. So I'm gonna definitely go with Navarrete in the rematch. I mean, I'll watch it, but it's not a fight that I'm like highly interested in.
Okay. Me neither. I'm not even gonna really touch on that too much. It's just one of those ESPN top rank fights that they like to throw. And so you got this too, man. So on that 25th of January main event with Morrell, I think Morrell and Benavidez, it got to be the main event. But they also talking about putting Rayo against Pitbull in a rematch. Do you think that it's gonna play out the same way, or do you think Pitbull got a chance in a rematch?
No, I definitely think it's gonna play out the same way. Like, you know, in the first fight, Pitbull, he's got that style where we know he's got power. You know, he's a pit bull. That's his nickname. You know, he's a pit bull. But Rayo just had the perfect game plan, keeping his distance, boxing Pitbull from the outside. And Pitbull, you know, he tried that whole fight coming forward, throwing big shots. He just couldn't catch Rayo. So, I mean, I don't know what other adjustments he can really make. Like I said, he was coming forward, throwing shots. He couldn't catch the guy. So I think him being short is just a huge problem for him. Obviously, they're taking the rematch, so maybe they've seen something that they can, you know, take advantage of in this fight. But in that first fight, to me, it was just one-sided. So I don't see it playing out any differently in the rematch. So I'm definitely going with Rayo by decision.
Nah, it's going to be another fight that we're going to discuss on probably the next slide or slide after. that I don't even see why they would do that. Because you look at the image right there, you see how much bigger he is, and also he might put himself in a situation where he might get dropped or stopped, because there's a couple of times Ryo clipped him coming in. Pitbull always has trouble against taller dudes. In the Cabrera fight, Cabrera might have won that one on that Spence and Crawford undercard. Only thing with Cabrera, he didn't have any power, so he couldn't really deter Pitbull. But it was a couple times in that fight, Ryo landed like a big left or big right, and it kind of stopped Pitbull in his tracks. One thing about Pitbull in that fight as well is he was missing like a mile away with those shots. And so he just wasn't, positioning himself to get close. And it was never in a fight. You know how sometimes dudes will miss and then it's like, okay, now he's getting closer. He just missed. So when the fight, towards the end of the fight, he might start landing those shots. I never gathered that he was getting himself anywhere closer to getting at Ryo. And I think that it's going to get uglier, because only thing that he might be able to cash in on is if Ryo get too overconfident. Because going into this fight, if I was Ryo, I'd be like, man, it's going to be the easiest fight that I ever had in my life. You know what I'm saying? Because of just the matchup problem that he poses for Pitbull. So if he doesn't get overconfident, I see him whitewashing Pitbull, which is really going to lower his stock. Now, the last thing I'm going to say as well, regarding this, the biggest loser was Tank Davis, because then that put Tank Davis in a situation where all roads was leading towards a Pitbull rematch, and Pitbull wanted that fight. And so he probably would have been willing to give into the demands, and then they could justify a Pitbull rematch. He's going to get the 140-pound belt. Pitbull gave him a tough fight the last time that they fought. But then after that, they didn't have any opponents that they were salivating over to put Tank in a ring with. So then you ended up with the Lamont Roach fight. Also, speaking of bad decisions on a rematch, Anthony Joshua was saying that he can't live with himself. He can't forgive himself unless he get that rematch with Dubois. They're talking about a February rematch between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Triple D Dubois. Do you see role reversal in this one? And also, Ty, this is when the show is going to go left. I just made me a quick little margarita because I'm taking off tomorrow. So it might go a little bit left. So, and also I'm starting to feel like Bivol, how you kind of like start to wear down towards the end of the fight. I'm starting to wear down towards the end of the episode. I'm going to go ahead and lean on you a little bit. But what you think though, sir?
Yeah, man, this is a tricky one. And I hate for Joshua to take this move, but obviously, he didn't like the way the last fight ended. But Dubois, man, this guy is on a mission. He stopped Big Baby Miller. He stopped Philip Herkovich. And then he stopped Anthony Joshua. So this guy's on a mission. Like I said, he's just as big as Anthony Joshua, just as tall as him. And he's got almost all knockouts in all of his fights. You know what I mean? So to me, this is a dangerous rematch. Like, unlike, Ruiz, when he became champ, he was in party mode, didn't take training seriously. So Joshua was able to take advantage of that, and capitalize on that in the rematch. So Usyk, same thing, he rematched Usyk. Usyk is one of the top guys, in the heavyweight. He's on the top right now. He's the undisputed champion, and Joshua just couldn't do anything with him. And now he wants to go right back in there with Dubois. To me, that's a bad move, man. It's a very bad move. Dubois dropped him a few times, in the first fight. I see the rematch playing out the same way. I think Dubois is just going to come out swinging for the fences, and he's just gonna land. And AJ doesn't have the best chin, and I think he's just going to get clipped. He's going to be on shaky legs. I think he's definitely willing to trade, but I just don't think it's going to go in his favor. So me personally, AJ would just like maybe just try to go against somebody like Deontay Wilder or somebody like that. But to me, going against Dubois is definitely a dangerous move.
Yeah, AJ need to let this one go. If what I would advise him to do is not Dubois, because you lose to Dubois. It's not like you losing the decision. It's not like you fighting somebody who's kind of feather-fisted. You see how he is down there on that ground right there. And he was trying to get up. He couldn't get up. First off, you're going to have to psychologically get yourself back together from that devastating defeat. He was getting pummeled. Like every time they get an exchange, it's just one moment that AJ had some success and he tried to seize the opportunity and he ended up getting clipped. Dubois has put himself in position, you know, mentally, psychologically, physically, like he's at his apex, he's in his prime. All of the stuff that we were, you know, complaining about with Dubois or being critical of him, he was a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like 22, 23. And then he finally, you know, honed his skills and things like that to be the best he possibly can be. I would leave him alone for the next couple of years. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just, he's at his best right now. AJ, he isn't so much. You know, like you said, the chin issue. As soon as he get clipped on that chin, it's a wrap. And he's like a deer in headlights. The first round. Remember when he thought he was out of position and he started bagging up with his hands down, and that's boxing 101. Never bag out with your hands down. Boom. He gets hit, he gets dropped. After that, it was all downhill until he had that one little moment. I never saw anywhere in that fight, technically, where AJ, based on what he does, that he can get with Dubois. Because now, one thing, here's the thing. Only way AJ wins this fight is if he can back up Dubois. Like, he can't let Dubois pressure him. And that's what Dubois was doing, stalking him. And AJ kind of gets shaky when you do that, and he's landing all of these shots on him. He can't fight like that, especially against a power puncher. He's going to have to push him. He's at the George Foreman him, but I don't know if that's in his repertoire, though. So I like Daniel Dubois by devastating KO. I think it'd be worse. It's kind of like Joe Joyce when he went against Zhang in a rematch. I'm like, dude, what are you going to do differently? Like, you don't really have any other game plan. And what your game plan that you do have is tailor-made for that dude. And I think that's what's going to happen in this one. Your boy Charlo, man, that's one of your favorite guys right there. You understand? Jamal, he's coming back, talking about being on the undercard December 14th on that Tank Davis fight that's going to take place in Houston. Who would you like to see Jamal or Jamal fight? I'd like to see Jamal come back too, but who would you like to see him fight? And are you you think that he can make a solid run at 168? I think that's where he's going to eventually wind up.
I would honestly, of course, I would love to see him fight Andre, but still, with everything that he's been through, and you know, he had to fight with Jose Benavidez. I don't think that really puts him in a position to like fight one of the best. Like, we still need to see where he's at mentally. You know what I'm saying? So I would still like to see him maybe take a tune up, but you know, this is going to be on a Tank Lamont Roach undercard, so this is going to be, you know, on a big stage. It's going to be in his hometown. So I think he wants to have a decent opponent. I heard that it could possibly be Thomas Cornflake LaManna. And if that happens, I think that's easy work for him. You know, I've seen LaManna fight live. He was very skilled, but this was, you know, of course, not against, you know, the best opposition. You know, when Thomas Cornflake LaManna stepped up in competition, you know, he was blown out in the first round by Erislandy Law. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he lost to the guy George Cotto. So if that does happen, this should be Marshall should be able to take care of business. But I would like to see him fight Cornflake just to, you know, see where he's at. But I wouldn't want to see him fight like a Demetrius Andre, because like I said, it's still been a long time since he's really been in that ring. You know what I mean? He's had all the personal stuff that he was going through. But I did see a video on Fight Hype where he was talking about Boo Boo answer your phone and something about Al Haymon being sick. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I hope it's not like a top guy, just another tune up just to see where he's at. And then if he does well, you know, 2025, go all out.
Yeah, no, listen, man. Jamal is fighting at home. Give him somebody that's he can dazzle the crowd. You know, go out with a bang at home, and then use this as a springboard to bigger and better opposition. Some of the dudes that you mentioned, like a Boo Boo, or somebody like that, he can go after them afterwards, but not this first, you know, comeback fight in his hometown. You don't want to be a person like him, especially psychologically, seem to be a little bit off his rocker a little bit. I don't know about now. There's some of the interviews I saw in the past, he didn't seem like he was there. Even in that fight that he had against Jose Benavidez, he just didn't, something seem right. You know, it seemed off a little bit. And so you want to make sure everything is good from a psychological standpoint. You want to build his confidence. You want to get him back into a routine of fighting and or training and then fighting and then moving off into another fight, and then you can, set him up for something bigger and better. I'm gonna welcome Sheldon back, man. Sheldon, everything good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I had a phone call. One of my guys is out in the state of Florida right now, and he was giving me some information on that Zoo Murtazalia fight. And one of the reasons I love your channel, bro, is because you deal in facts, not fiction, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have a lot of people running around here on the internet talking about how big of a star Tim Zoo is, right? And you know Tim Zoo if you're a hardcore boxing fan, but if you're not really into boxing, you have no idea who this guy is. You definitely don't know who Barkram Murtazalia is. And my boy was telling me, he was asking me, why do you think they got Tim Zoo and Murtazalia fighting next week in a 2,000-seat arena? I said, because nobody knows who they are. Why would you put Tim Zoo versus Murtazalia in a 16,000-seat arena? You'd never fill it up. You'd never fill it. But you put him in this arena and you can have nice little crowd shots. People will think it's packed, but they don't know. Only reason he knows is because he's staying at the hotel where the fight's going to happen. Yeah, that's why he knows it.
What part of Florida is that fight going to happen?
It's in Orlando.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one of my exes live in Orlando. I was telling her I might come down there, but it's some really. I don't know if they have any tickets left though, because I told her I said I might.
They got tickets left. He was telling me today they got tickets left. That's all that.
I'm gonna take a look, man, because I got some miles that I can use. I'm gonna look into it. I'm glad that you mentioned that, man. That's breaking news here on Last Ones at the Bar. But listen, what do you think about Charlo fighting on that Tank undercard? You think that's a good look for him?
It's in Houston, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That's the best place to put him. He can't sell nowhere else.
Right.
That's a good place to have a comeback fight against a weak opponent. Who's he fighting? Some dude. I think he's fighting Cornflake.
Yeah, that's what Ty was saying. He said he heard that he's.
But that's actually smart because Jamal been out the ring for what, 19 months, 20 months?
Mm-hmm.
You put him in there with somebody he's going to spectacularly knock out in his hometown. That gives him confidence, number one. And number two, it puts him back in the mix.
Yes, sir.
Because at this point of his career right now, you don't put him in there with Lara. You don't put him in there with Adames. None of those guys, because I think those guys beat him now. But after he gets a couple fights under his belt, who knows? Jamal is still a good fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to see what's up with Jamel too, man. You need to get him back in the swing of things if he's gonna, continue to fight on. Also, man, speaking of a good fight, this is gonna be a goodie right here, and they added this to the Fury Usyk 2 card. They got Israel Majimov against Serhiy Borchuk. In that fight, first and foremost, that's a goodie right there. That's gonna be a
great fight.
Who do you fellas like in that one? You think Borchuk got a chance?
Yeah, Borchuk probably gonna stop him.
Yeah, it's a good fight to me. Borchuk, he gave Virgil Ortiz, a good fight. That was Virgil Ortiz's first time going the distance. And Majimov, him and Crawford went 12 rounds, so it's a very good fight. Borchuk, he's an entertaining fighter. He's got some pop. Majimov, he's a good fighter as well. So I'm looking for an entertaining fight. It's hard for me to call this one, man. I probably would lean towards Majimov by decision.
Yeah, talk to me, Sheldon. What you think, man? You say he might stop him. I mean, is that your prediction?
Borchuk is a come forward guy with power in both hands. Borchuk is all gas, no brakes. Majimov likes to stick move box. He's awkward. He's got a little pop, but I don't think he's seen anything in his career like Borchuk. Maybe he saw something like that in the amateurs, but this ain't the amateurs. I think Borchuk, after the beat down he put on Mendoza, and you haven't heard nothing from Mendoza since that fight. And then you saw him go to war with Victor Ortiz. And, hey, I thought maybe Borchuk might have pulled that out. I didn't really like the decision on that fight. I think Boychuk will go in here and make a statement against this dude. I think he might stop this guy.
Listen, man, I don't know because I want to see This is going to tell me a lot about Madrimov, his ability to fight against different styles. People who have sparred with him or shared the ring with him, they speak so highly of Madrimov. So I want to see that because this is going to be a stiff test for him to prove what it is I've been hearing. You know, it's kind of like it's like a legion and a legend of Madrimov as far as his training sessions and things like that, or sparring sessions, I should say. But I do want to say this though, like shout out to them Eastern European dudes, man, because they some tough jokers. You know what I'm saying? Like they really, that's what I be wanting to see from our guys, like that intestinal fortitude, that no nonsense approach, you know, when it comes to harnessing their craft and things of that nature. That's what they bring to the table. Like the fight that we had yesterday, you didn't need them to be trash talking each other. You know what I'm saying? Like they built up the right stuff. When I'm listening to people asking them questions, sometimes people give up too much information in interviews. Like they're not giving out anything, but they praising their opponent, and then they're kind of being so humble, you know. Like you'll listen to Beterbiev, and they'll be like, well, if you win this, what does that mean? Then he'll say something like, that means I'm starting to become a good fighter. And you're like, huh? Dude, you come on, man. But that's what you appreciate that about them, that they like humble dudes. They want to take on the best opposition. These dudes don't have to fight each other. Like they could just wait, you know, for another opportunity to get at a zoo or to get at a Spence or whoever. You know what I'm saying? Like they can wait for those opportunities, but they're not doing that. They going for the gusto, and I appreciate that. So may the best man win. I just know it's going to be a heck of a fight, and I'm looking forward to it. Teofimo Lopez. Now, I think there's maybe one or two more subjects that we're going to discuss. But what do you think about Crawford? So you know Crawford and Teofimo got a little beef. Teofimo, man, I want somebody to put this dude to sleep so bad. He every time they ask him about, and shame on Tank Davis. So I don't know if you know, but they asked him who would he want to fight Javante or Crawford. And so he said something along the lines, whichever monkey wants the banana, something like that first. And so, you know, Crawford took issue with that and be approaching Teofimo Lopez and things of that nature. But here's the deal. They asked Crawford recently, he did a really good interview about a week or so ago. And they were like, is he interested in a Teofimo fight? And he was saying that, well, if he got to beat Madrimov first, and then I'll fight him. What do you think about that? His response to Teofimo's claim that he wants.
I like it because Teofimo isn't even in the weight class, number one.
Right.
So you come up here and I stone you, it don't mean nothing. But if you come up here and prove yourself, then maybe we can make this into a bigger money fight. See, because Crawford has already told you. That's what I understand about people when they talk about Crawford, right? Crawford has already told you, I'm done with legacy. I've already cemented that. I'm looking for big money.
Right.
It ain't no money in a Boots fight. It ain't no money in a Madrimov fight. It ain't really no money in a Fundora fight. But if Teofimo Lopez can come up 2 weight classes and beat a Madrimov, it'll be money in that fight. He's looking for money. I don't have a problem with it. Make them dude fight somebody. You beat this dude? Yeah, I'll fight you. Go and beat him first.
What you think, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that like Crawford has the right to respond, to Teofimo Lopez saying all that, but I still think it's silly because Teofimo Lopez, he's not even on Crawford's level, man. Like I said, like Shelton mentioned, they're not even in the same weight class. So if he wants to fight, look, Crawford just fought at 154. So Teofimo Lopez would have to move up, a couple of weight classes. So to me, it doesn't make sense. But I mean, if trash talking, the best way to, finish the job is to get in the ring and settle it. But like I said, these guys are not even in the same weight class. So this is something I'm not even really entertaining. And Madrimov has a fight coming up already. So this is just something I'm not entertaining.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm disappointed in Bud because I do think there is money in this fight. because you got the thing that makes the money is Bud is cool with the Sheik, and if they can run this past the Sheik, and he, allows this to take place, or he puts this card on, then there is money. That's why you're getting a lot of these dudes who are coming out the woodworks fighting stiffer opposition, because the Sheik wants to see some of those fights. I don't know if he wants to see this one. If it's something that he would be willing to fund, because that's why you even seen Frank Sanchez, who was over there on one leg fighting the guy he was facing. He was willing to take that fight, even though he was compromised, because of that money. So I think there is money in this. Only reason I'm kind of disappointed in Bud is because I think, like I said, I think there is a potential for him to make a nice payday, but also to whoop on this dude who been talking that nonsense. You know what I mean? Okay, you sitting up here trying to call me out. Let's go ahead and get busy then. You know what I mean? Because he is a name. And then he also has, things that he's done in the past, being like a 3 or 4 belt champion at lightweight. He has a belt at 140. He has a name. He beat Loma and, that sort of thing. So, okay, you want to talk all that noise. Let's go ahead and get up here and get busy. Let me go ahead and put these hands on you, because you've been saying that little racial stuff too. So this gives me an opportunity to really clean your clock. So that's the only thing I'm disappointed in Bud. And then the other thing too, if you think about it, then Canelo don't have to fight Bud. So but Canelo could say the same thing to him. Okay, you go ahead and you beat let's say, for instance, he said you beat Caleb Plant or you beat whoever, you know what I'm saying? Then I'll face you. Then Canelo gonna play the same game. All right, last but not least, man, Edgar Berlanga. They done dug Gabe Rosado out of retirement, and they're trying to set this as a possible fight for him in February, homecoming fight. Not necessarily because he's really from New York, but he has Puerto Rican descent. So do you like this for Berlanga as a potential fight over there in San Juan, Puerto Rico?
No. Gabe Rosado is 39. No.
He retired too. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. But anyway, I'm listening. My bad, King. Why not? Just because he's 39?
He's 39. He's been retired for over 2 years. Mm-hmm. And you going to put him in there against this guy? That's a showcase. He going to slaughter Gabe. Gabe is not even really a 68-pounder. Gabe is really a 60-pounder. So, come on, man. And the dude is 39. He's been on the couch for 2 years. Come on, man. No, I don't want to see that. No.
What about you? What about you, Legend?
Nah, man. Of course, I don't want to see this either. Gabe Rosado, he's basically a journeyman now. He's been a journeyman. I mean, he was always willing to fight the top guys. Definitely give him that. He had heart. He never backed down from no fight. But yeah, man, Gabe Rosado's time's been up. I seen Gabe Rosado fight live back in 2009. So you're talking over a decade ago. I seen this guy fight live, and he lost that fight that I went to see him fight live at. So yeah, man, Gabe Rosado's time. He's been up. Edgar Berlanga, he's just coming off the biggest fight of his career. Even though he didn't really even run around. He came up short against one of the best in Canelo. Why go after a Gabe Rosado after a Canelo fight, man? Come on, man. That's something that I'm not entertaining as well, man. I don't want to see this fight at all.
Nah, I mean they could do better. I think this right here is nutty, man. But that's where we are in the sport of boxing. I honestly think that this might be a cherry pick go wrong. I don't think Gabe can beat Berlanga in a 10 or 12 round fight because he's just too old, been off too long. But I'm sure he's, been spurring a little bit, to stay kind of in quasi semi shape or whatever. But he might run Berlanga into something, and Berlanga may not look as good as he think he's going to look in terms of like a showcase type fight, because Gabe can stink the joint up and make things uncomfortable for you because he just knows all of the tricks of the trade, and Berlanga knows none of the tricks of the trade. So he might go in there overconfident as he typically does, winging shots, and Gabe can set somebody up who does that sort of thing, kind of like he did against Beck the Bully. Now, really, I give Berlanga a pass to a certain degree as far as taking like a light touch because you just fought Canelo. So you want to get back in the ring, build the fan base back to the way it was, or continue to build your fan base back in somewhere like a Puerto Rico because you have Puerto Rican ancestry, and that's where your people come from. So that's cool. You know what I mean? Build that fan base back up, but not against Rosado because, like you said, it looks like a huge cherry pick, like a cherry pie. You understand what I'm saying? Because, like you say, he's been off so long. He's almost 40. So that I don't like that piece of it. But who he really should be trying to fight is somebody like a Pacheco or somebody like that's who we need to be mixing it up with, Munguia and people like that. But I don't think they'll ever do that. They're gonna try to find another fight that's lucrative for him, and Munguia might be able to provide that opportunity for him. But once he finds that other fighter like a Munguia, for him is going to be what Dubois was for AJ. Like he's not that good. And so once he fights somebody, a youthful guy who can bang a little bit, who really can fight, then that'll be the end of Berlanga as we know him. Anything else you got on that, fellas?
I just want to add that you're absolutely right. I think that Diego Pacheco would be the perfect guy if you want to prove that you wasn't just a guy they put in there with Canelo. Fight Diego Pacheco, and then we'll see, because we know that guy's pretty good, even as a prospect.
Yep. Nah, they won't do that. It ain't about, like with him, it ain't about proving anything. It's more so trying to maximize the money or bag that you can get for him against the least resistant opponent until you can get somebody like a Canelo or so. Last but not least, you got Ryan Garcia. Here's the deal, though, fellas. Ryan Garcia talking about he was training for Devin Haney, right? So the other day, Bill Haney came out. He said, cool, you training for us. You got 48 hours to go ahead and be tested, like by VADA. Like we do yearly training, or we do training with them until we fight each other. So then Ryan Garcia talks about that he's moving on or something like that. Eventually, that's what he said. I mean, come on, man. I mean, what do you think about this whole situation, this whole scenario, man?
Isn't he suspended until April?
Right, but they saying that as soon as you get up off that suspension, we can set up a date, or we can be testing like in the meantime until we go ahead and do the rematch.
So they thinking that they gonna say all this and have all these stipulations as the loser. Number one,
they don't lose. They don't lose.
Two, oh yeah, but they reversed it. They reversed it. Okay, and you suing me, right? Aren't you still suing me?
I'm suing you for the damages, yes, for the damages.
So why would I do anything? Or why would I comply to anything you want me to do?
Because that's
just that's not a racial thing. That's not a racial thing. That's just a life thing. If you're suing me,
you didn't comply the last time. He didn't comply the last time. So that's what I'm saying. That's the reason why they want to put this stipulation in, because he tested positive.
Right, but I don't care. You suing me now, so I don't care what you want. I'm not doing nothing you want me to do. Let's finish this court case, and then we can see it. Because since you suing me, no, I'm not doing nothing you want me to do. Take me to court. You're already taking me to court.
Yes, sir. And that's that. What you're not willing to do is going to be Exhibit A in my court case. The fact that if you saying that you came out publicly, said that you're training for a Devin Haney rematch, and then when I asked for you to go ahead and get into VADA testing in order for us to have this fight, now you don't want to do it. So that furthers my point of what it is I was saying about you, sir. So that's Exhibit A. What about you, Todd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is something I would want to see right now. Like you guys mentioned, Devin Haney, he is suing Ryan Garcia. So, and then Ryan Garcia got the, like y'all mentioned, he got the suspension. But we seen this situation before with Canelo and Triple G. Soon, Canelo was off his suspension, he was right in there fighting Triple G. Like he wasn't even suspended. Like he didn't get a suspension. He got a training camp. So I can see that playing out with this situation. But at the same time, I think Devin Haney needs to just go in there with somebody else right now. But I know they were saying like his next payday was going to be a lot smaller, just with the fact, how the fight with Ryan Garcia went. But, as you guys mentioned, that got changed to a no contest. So I think he need get this lawsuit thing over with, fight a tune-up, fight somebody. Then once Ryan Garcia, once his suspension is up, then y'all can go ahead and set something up, get back for what he did to you being on PDs. That's just how I look at it.
Right, but that's not what they're saying though. What the question is the fact that Ryan Garcia came out saying that he was training for Devin Haney for their rematch. Right. So then once the Haney's caught wind of that, they said, okay, if you're training for it, then let's go ahead. You got 48 hours. We accept your challenge. But you have 48 hours to enter into VADA testing for the fight that you are training for. And then he reneged on it. It's like, dude, see, here's the thing. A lot of guys who be taking these long layoffs, they are spiraling out of the PED cycle. Like they are, using, and then they'll go ahead and cycle off when it's time for them to start preparing for their next fight. So to avoid all of that type of stuff, then let's go ahead and get into this Olympic style or VADA style testing, so you don't sit up here and be doing the same thing you was doing before.
Right. But yeah, I think, just with him, Ryan being on PDs, I can definitely see, Haney wanted to go in there and just beat the brakes off this guy. So yeah, I mean, the best place to settle it is in the ring. So I hope they can run it back. They can run it back, and like I said, may the best man win.
Yes, sir. You got I think that's Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Man, you got to speak on with all that stuff, man, that you saying over there in your name. I'm gonna put the link over there. We're about to wrap up though, Bruce Gas. But if you want to just hop on to share what you saw yesterday in that monumental fight at the light heavyweight division, you're more than welcome to stop through. If not, hopefully some other time. And if you haven't subbed to the channel, make sure you sub to the channel. Also, Ty, do me a favor and put your link to your channel down there as well, because they do some really good work over there. Anytime, I think, are you going to do the Tim Tszyu fight next week? You might not, because I don't think a lot of people are going to know about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, Bruce Gas been rocking with us for a minute, man. He always come through when I'm live with G5. So yeah, Bruce Gas is family, man, and he got his own channel. So yeah, he does his thing with boxing too. So salute to Bruce Gas, man.
Bruce Gas, I'm gonna have to go ahead and check that out, brother. You understand what I'm saying? We do this live every Sunday for the most part. We try to get it in. We try to recap the fights. Eventually, we're gonna have to do our top 10 pound for pound list as well. For me right now, if I had to go off the top of the head, I would have to go with Usyk, probably Bud, then a new way. That fight yesterday didn't do anything for me in terms of, like the other guys, like the Beterbievs and Bivols, like pushing them up further. Wherever they are, they stayed there. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't that much separation. But we got to do something like that pretty soon. But anyway, last but not least, brothers, give us your last words before we wrap this one up, man. As far as the things that you see, I talk in terms of state of boxing. Yesterday did a lot, you know what I mean? As far as, you having guys who fighting against each other, don't need to trash talk each other, don't need any gimmicks and all of that type of stuff. It's just old school, two solid, great combatants going at each other, both of them doing their thing, style clash. It just depends on which style that you prefer. You understand what I'm saying? But no guy left that ring yesterday needing to have their head down or anything like that. They both can leave proud, leave as men who represent the sport extremely well, and just men who just represent themselves well. You understand what I'm saying? Hopefully we get more of that moving forward in the future, where we can bring the game back to where it needs to be. But what are your last words for this episode?
Great show, man. As usual. Thanks for having me on. I don't understand why boxing fans have a problem with Turkey Al-Ashik, man. He's giving us great cards. He's giving us events, great fights. All the fights we said we want to see, we're getting to see them. I like this format. I hope other promoters will work with Turkey. And let's get these fights on, man. Let's get the best fighting the best. But great show, like I said, man. Have a great Sunday, you guys. And I'll see you on the next one.
All right, listen, Sean, I know you're going to log off. I got one last thing I'm going to say when I wrap up, but I want you to listen to it. In the next week, tell me if you agree with what I'm saying. What about you? And thank you, sir. I appreciate you, man.
No
Yeah,
problem.
man.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to say, yesterday was a good fight. Undisputed, championship. In the light heavyweight division. Two of the top guys in that division. Went 12 rounds, so it was a decent undercard. So I think the fans won at the end of the day. And like far as I know, we were talking earlier about Fulton and Figueroa. That's going to be on the undercard of Tank. They need something like that to be on the undercard because Tank and Lamont Roach, to me, that's not going to bring that's not the pay-per-view nobody wants to see. So the fact they're going to have Fulton and Figueroa and Charlo and everybody on the undercard, that's going to try to make the event be bigger, get more pay-per-view buys. But yeah, man, other than that, man, good show. Thanks for bringing me on, Wilton. Thanks for coming on yesterday, and we're going to continue to do this thing, man. Talk about
man. And shout out to your guy yesterday who was trying to call me out. You understand what I'm saying? Sir, whoever that dude name was, you got to get a
Yeah, either the remix or something. Yeah, that was the first time I seen him, man. He said he's been subbed to me for a while, but that's the first time I see him in the comment section. So
yeah, man, he can come on here, speak his piece. But I see through those hollow dudes, like it ain't nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So we ain't even gonna have to touch on him. But I will say a few things before we wrap this one up. And again, I appreciate all you fellas who came through. You had Teach, you had Bruce Gas Boxing, you had Rod. I mean, I really appreciated what Rod brought to the table because it was a breath of fresh air, hearing somebody who's knowledgeable, about the sport. And I didn't agree with everything Rod said, but like I said, I can understand where he's coming from. When he was mentioning certain fights and he was saying that he thought that certain cards were incorrect, where I disagree, but at the same time, I got to understand what the man is saying. I just don't like when people, they just followers and they don't have their own mind. And, if you got your own mind and you see things a certain way, I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? You talked about Tank Davis and Lamont Roach. To me, that's the, and people not really excited about it, not necessarily want to support it. That remind me of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as candidates for the Democratic Party. You understand what I'm saying? Like, who's excited about that? Same thing. But in closing, I want to say this, man. I want to say I appreciate what I saw yesterday, the lead up to the fight. The fact that the guys, like I say, came out there, put in that work. It was no extras. It was no 24s put on the promotion. It wasn't dudes having to go out of their way to say negative things about their opponent or go out of their way to make themselves look better than what they were. No, you got what you got. Like, they are the top of the line when it comes to the light heavyweight division, some of the best to ever do it. And a lot of times, just like people who got money, somebody who got it, they ain't got to tell you they got it. They just go out and about. You see somebody like Bill Gates or somebody like that. He ain't flashy or anything like that. Why would I need to be flashy? Because I got it. And them dudes were some bad dudes. They got busy. They don't have to go and beat their chest and tell you I'm the best this and I'm the best. They don't have to do that. I see it. I see Better B when he touched somebody that he hurting them. I can see the balance that he has. I can see him cutting off the ring. I can see Bivol in and out boxing ability, being able to elude punches, doing his thing. You get once you see a highlight of them, don't even have to say anything else. It's already self-explanatory. What's understood don't need to be explained. But I do want to end on this, is that I was thinking, and you got the court case with P. Diddy. It's going to sound like crazy, but I'm going to say it anyway. P. Diddy, regardless of what you think about the court case, right? P. Diddy has done some damage to hip hop. And I was listening to Lord Jamar, and he was talking about how Diddy may be reaping the what he sold in terms of hip hop, where he was somebody who changed hip hop, where it was like you didn't have like the break beats anymore. He started bringing in like the samples and stuff like that of old school music. He started doing things where it's like I don't even have to somebody can write my own rhyme, write my rhymes for you. So you didn't have the authenticity of the MC putting their bars. Like you had that a little bit before. People wrote easy, but they wasn't really like they weren't to the point where they are bragging about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he did that sort of thing. It's a lot of things that Diddy did in hip hop. He was putting the locks in shiny suits and stuff like that. These dudes who have bars, he got them like trying to make them out to be pop stars and things like that. So he brought that to hip hop, right? I'm gonna tell you who's doing that to boxing. The dude that you see right there, Tank Davis. Tank Davis is the Diddy of hip hop. I mean, of boxing in that degree, where I don't have to fight anybody. Like I don't really have to fight who you want me to fight ever. I can go ahead and fight this dude right here, and I'm gonna have a whole bunch of people come see me, and I'm gonna move on to this next guy who has no reason to be in the ring with me, but people are gonna support it. And when you talk to my trainers, Tank is going to do what he wants to do. And then you talk to Leonard Ellerby. They making all type of excuses why Tank Davis don't have to fight this dude. He's not, and all of that sort of thing. That's the P. Diddy. Like they taken out the element of boxing as far as what you want to see. And that's the reason why you support the sport. And that's the reason why you ever like appreciate the sport, because you had mano y mano. You had different styles that was going against each other. I don't mind seeing a technical boxer face a puncher. Like I want to see how those styles match up. I want to see who's going to be able to implement their style over the other opponent. Like that's the nature, that's the beauty of the sport of boxing. Not me going inside the ring and I'm already knowing that you're gonna beat this dude. It's just a matter of when you're gonna beat him. So yeah, Tank Davis, you get the Diddy Award for being a new Diddy of boxing.
Yeah, I want to add. I definitely want to add to that. Like, far as P. Diddy, like I remember him and the Lops got into an argument on the radio. It was Jada and Styles P. They were going at Diddy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and they were just saying like how Diddy had signed a lot of artists that's no longer with him. Like he had a whole bunch of people signed. He was no longer with him. So he was just saying like, Puffy, because this their situation, as you mentioned, like the Lots were saying, this is not us, being in shiny suits, we from the streets, you know what I mean? And then when they kept dropping albums, Diddy kept getting a lot of the money because of all this. So like he's definitely done a lot of bad in hip hop, man. So, but yeah, and then I also wanted to end it on I wanted to say who shout out to John Scully, Iceman John Scully, assistant trainer to Artur Beterbiev. I didn't see him in the corner, but like when everybody showed up to the arena, I saw him walking in with Beterbiev. So I texted him yesterday, told him congratulations, to the team, congratulations, Beterbiev becoming undisputed, and he responded right back, thank you. And he texted me again this morning. So who shout out, Iceman John Scully?
Listen, brother, like to have John to be able to communicate with John Scully, that's a huge, feather in your cap. You understand what I'm saying? You could like dudes like John Scully, they are integral when it comes to the sport of boxing. They are dudes who are just they the cloth of what boxing is about. He's a boxing aficionado. I think didn't he fight Michael Nunn? I think so.
Yeah.
But he's like the heartbeat of the sport of boxing. And for him, to touch base with you on a consistent basis, like I said, that's a huge feather in your cap, man. So shout out to you, shout out to John Scully. Hopefully I get a chance to talk to him. I don't want to, dabble into stuff that you got going on, but it would be an honor and pleasure just to even speak to somebody like that who's a true boxing aficionado, somebody that's just he comes from that cloth, man. And you don't have that many people like that left. You understand what I'm saying? But we can go ahead and end on that. I'm gonna let you close out. Let the people know where they can find you. How to subscribe, and then I'm gonna go ahead and close it out.
Yeah, man. Y'all know where I'm at, man. Podcast is in this corner. You know, the link's right there in the chat. Tfinney3319. Subscribe to the channel. You know, always be on the lookout for, you know, live coverage of fights, interviews, and you can definitely catch me with the good fellas. You can catch me here with Last Ones at the Bar.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you, Ty. I'm starting to feel like Bivol did in the latter parts of the fight. I'm stumbling around a little bit. So I better go ahead and close this one out, man. Hopefully everybody have a good week. Catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.